Could you perhaps give an indication as to how you and Charlie come up with the economic value or the intrinsic value of the businesses that you finally decide to invest in, and a little bit about the process that you go through with that? Thank you.
Well, in the 1992 annual report, we discussed that a fair amount, but the economic value of any asset essentially is the present value, the appropriate interest rate of all the future streams of cash going in or out of the business. And there are all kinds of businesses that Charlie and I don't think we have the faintest idea what that future stream will look like. And if we don't have the faintest idea what the future stream is going to look like, we don't have the faintest idea what it's worth now. So if you think you know what the price of a stock should be today, but you don't think you have any idea what the stream of cash will be over the next 20 years, you've got cognitive dissonance, I guess is what they call it. So we are looking for things where we feel fairly high degree of probability that we can come within a range of looking at those numbers out over a period of time, and then we discount them back. And we are more concerned with the certainty of those numbers than we are with getting the one that looks absolutely the cheapest, but based upon numbers that we don't have great confidence in. And that's basically what economic value is all about. The numbers in any accounting report mean nothing per se as to economic value. They are guidelines to tell you something about how to get at economic value. But they don't tell you anything. There are no answers in the financial statements. There are guidelines to enable you to figure out the answer. And to figure out that answer, you have to understand something about business. You don't have to understand a lot about mathematics. I mean, the math is not complicated. But you do have to understand something about the business. But that's the same thing you would do if you're going to buy an apartment house or a farm or any other small business you might be interested in. You would try to figure out what you are laying out currently and what you are likely to get back over time, and how certain you felt about getting it, and how it compared to other alternatives. That's all we do. We just do it with large businesses, basically. The accounting figures are very helpful to us in the sense that they generally guide us to what we should be thinking about, and of course, if we find numbers where it looks like people are taking the most optimistic interpretation of things that they can under GAAP and all of that, we get very worried about people who look like they massage the numbers in any way, and there are plenty of people that do. Zone 3.
I'm Howard Bascom from Kansas City. When you are estimating a growth rate on a company of a very predictable company, I imagine you apply a big margin of safety to it. What kind of rate do you generally apply? I mean, high single digits?
In the margin of safety, or
what kind of growth rate would you, on a predictable company, might you?
We are willing to buy companies that aren't going to grow at all.
Okay.
Assuming we get enough for our money when we do it. So we are not looking. We are looking at projecting numbers out as to what kind of cash we think we'll get back over time. But would you rather have a savings? If you're going to put $1 million in a savings account, would you rather have something that paid you 10% a year and never changed, or would you rather have something that paid you 2% a year and increased at 10% a year? Well, you can work out the math to answer those questions, but you can certainly have a situation where there's absolutely no growth in the business, and it's a much better investment than some company that's going to grow at very substantial rates, particularly if they're going to need capital in order to grow. There's a huge difference in the business that grows and requires a lot of capital to do so, and the business that grows and doesn't require capital. And I would say that generally financial analysts do not give adequate weight to the difference in those. In fact, it's amazing how little attention is paid to that. And, believe me, if you're investing, you should pay a lot of attention to it. Charlie?
I agree with that, but It's fairly simple, but it's not so simple it can all be explained in one sentence.
Some of our best businesses that we own outright don't grow, but they throw off lots of money which we can use to buy something else, and therefore our capital is growing without physical growth being in the business. And we are much better off being in that kind of a situation than being in some business that itself is growing, but it takes up all the money in order to grow and doesn't produce that high returns as we go along. A lot of managements don't understand that very well, actually. Zone 1.